What is going on, everyone? I hope you are all having a fantastic day. So I think most of us would agree that, especially here in the US, financial education is not exactly a priority in our school system. And while I personally think that this is a huge disservice to those younger individuals, the good thing is that platforms like YouTube exist, and you can literally learn so much about pretty much anything by just searching it on the internet and learning about it. So while this entire channel is about teaching you about personal finance and reviewing the best financial tools that are currently available, today I thought we would condense all of that really useful information that you missed out on in one packed video and talk about 5 things that I feel you should have learned about money when you were in high school or even college. So if you want a ton of really great and useful information given to you in a really short period of time on how to handle all things personal finance, then let's jump right into it. Alright, so honestly, there's a million different things that I probably could have put on this list, but I tried to pick 5 things that I feel would have the greatest impact on your average everyday student without going into things that are a little bit over complex or confusing. So the first thing that you should have learned in school that specifically pertains to students is a better understanding of student loan debt and honestly just debt in general. Now, this doesn't apply to every student because not every student goes to college after graduating high school, but for a majority of students, that is the logical next step. And as we all know, that sadly often leads students into taking on ridiculous amounts of student loan debt that can have some serious impacts on their life for decades after graduating. Now, understanding the financial implications of student loan debt is important, and we will talk about that in a second. But taking on student loan debt in general means that you won't be able to buy a house as quickly, you'll have to push off your investing for retirement, which means you'll probably be retiring a little bit later than you should, and in general, it just limits the flexibility that you have after graduating. Now, I am not going to sit here and tell you that you should
never take on any student loan debt under any circumstance,
because in today's world, that's unfortunately just not an option for everyone. However, there are good ways to go about this, and there are certainly bad ways to go about this. And in most situations, it all comes down to where you decide to go to school. Now, I'm not going to get into this too much in today's video, but the important thing to remember here is that you need to view your college and the degree that you are getting as a form of investment. And in order to get a return on that investment in a short period of time, it is so important that you make sure you are not overpaying for your degree. So if you can get a finance degree from an in-state school for $10,000 per year, then that is likely going to give you a very similar return than had you gone to some fancy private school that was $60,000 per year. In most situations, a degree is a degree, especially when we're looking at undergraduate students. So paying a ridiculous amount of money for that degree that you could have gotten for a lot cheaper is honestly just irresponsible and stupid. Not to mention, it will lead to so many other financial headaches and issues down the road if you don't take care of it quickly. So keep a close eye on the price of the school that you select, get a degree that will actually give you a return on that investment, and obviously also explore options like scholarships, grants, and even student loan forgiveness programs, because these can help limit the price that you personally have to pay. Alright, moving on from there, we have the second thing that you absolutely should have learned in school, and that is how to invest, and specifically how to invest your money for the long term. By no means am I suggesting that your school should be teaching students how to day trade or leverage their money with options contracts, but at the very least, you should be getting a very basic understanding of how the stock market works and how to safely and effectively invest your money for the long term. And I get it, because the stock market can be incredibly overwhelming, especially if it's brand new to you. But as we've talked about many times before here on the channel, if you are just looking at long-term investing and you're just trying to get that 7 to 8% average return each year, then it does not have to be overly complicated. And there are even entire platforms like Wealthfront that will automate the entire process for you. And personally, even as someone who has a finance degree and has a really good understanding of the stock market and how to invest, I still use Wealthfront for my long-term investing because it's just easier for me to have them do everything for me and not have to worry about it. But honestly, when it comes to long-term investing, just keep it simple, put your money in some diversified ETFs or index funds, and then leave that money alone and don't touch it, and you'll probably be just fine. And I will just mention here that if you are interested in using the automated investing platform that I use, which is Wealthfront, then I have done 2 separate videos on that platform, and you can also get your first $5,000 invested for completely free using the link down in the description below. So if you're interested in that, then definitely check out that video and that link down below, but if not, no worries at all. Alright, this next one is a bit of a curveball, but is something that I felt was important to include on this list, and that would be basic life skills like how to pay your bills and utilities, how to get good rates on your insurance, and how to buy a car, and all of that good stuff. Now, I know that this is a much broader category, and there's a lot of things that fall under this, but in general, I feel like a lot of college students specifically, and even recent graduates, have very little to no understanding of how to apply for a mortgage, how to find good rates on their insurance, and that sort of stuff. So this one is pretty self-explanatory, but just including that in our students' education from a young age would benefit them so much more than half the crap that we spend time teaching them in school. Similar to that, the fourth thing that you definitely should have learned in school is how to build credit, and specifically how to build credit safely and quickly. At its core, building credit is not that difficult or complex, and for the most part, you just take on some kind of debt, pay it back on time, and this shows the credit bureau that you are a reliable borrower, and therefore that increases your credit score. However, it's not quite that simple because taking on debt, especially certain kinds of debt, can be really, really bad. And there are some very easy ways that you can build a fantastic credit score without taking on any of that bad debt. For example, I currently have a credit score of 789 at the age of 21, and I have never once in my life taken out any kind of loan. I simply got the Discover It credit card when I was 18 years old. I used it for my regular everyday purchases and then paid it off at the end of every single month without fail. And since then, I have opened a few other credit cards that give me some other cashback rewards and travel benefits, but once again, I just use it for things that I would be buying anyways, and I always pay them off at the end of every single month, and that alone has allowed me to build a pretty good credit score without ever taking on car loans, a mortgage, student loan debt, or anything like that. So learning that sort of thing at a young age, especially when those students are just getting old enough that they can have their own credit card, would probably be really good information to have in my opinion, so that we don't have 18-year-olds not only having tons of student loan debt, but digging themselves into a hole of credit card debt that can take years and years to dig themselves out of. Alright, and the fifth and final thing that you definitely should have learned in school about money is how to live below your means. Now, I was going to say how to budget for this one, but budgeting doesn't necessarily work for all of us, and I know that that particular word is not super popular with everyone. But regardless of whether you're creating a detailed spreadsheet for your budget, using some budgeting app, or just keeping a general eye on what money is coming in and what money is going out, at the end of the day, it all ends in the same result, and it is so important for you to do that if you want to be financially healthy, not only now, but in the future as well. Now, personally, I am a big fan of budgeting, not in the sense that I track every single penny, but at least keeping a close eye on the money that's coming in and going out to make sure that I'm living below my means and saving and establishing an emergency fund, and of course, investing for the future as well. And that also gives me the flexibility with my finances that allows me to just breathe and not constantly be worried or stressed about money. So try a few different methods and find a budgeting platform or method that works for you, even if that's just a simple way of tracking your income and expenses. But utilize those tools so that you can live well below your means and ensure that you are not only being financially healthy and responsible now, but that you're setting yourself up for a fantastic financial future going forward. So there you have it. Those are the 5 things that I feel you should have learned about money in school. And while we definitely move through these things really, really quickly, I hope that this did give you some really useful information that will hopefully set you up for a better financial future tomorrow. As always, if you did get value out of this content and you want to help support me, it would mean a lot to me if you would hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with someone who you think would get value out of this content as well. And of course, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it so much. Take it easy, and I'll see you in the next one.